Hey guys, this is Fusion here. Just kind of wanted to do a little video. Obviously, the CSGO Pick-Ems have just come out for the PGL Antwerp Major, which is going to be starting in just a few days, less than a week, I think. So I'm pretty excited about that. Just wanted to do the Pick 'em challenge. We did them last time. Last major was pretty easy, to be honest. It wasn't really that hard at all. So it wasn't too impressive that we ended up getting the diamond coin, but we're obviously going to be gunning for that again. Um, and so I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is going to be a pretty hard stage to predict because I recently in January got a full-time job, which has meant that I just haven't really had too much time to watch stuff. And although I did follow the NA qualifier, or not the NA qualifier, but the Americas qualifier, RMR event, I guess. I didn't really follow the European one as well as I would have liked because all the matches were happening during the day and I was at work. So I couldn't really watch the games. So I'm going to do my best, but just know my insight on some of these teams. Like, I don't really know how well Team Spirit played. I don't really know how well. I didn't really watch IHC play for the Asia qualifier. I didn't really watch really any of Eternal Fire or Bad News Eagles. So there's going to be some hard ones, I'm sure, and I'm sure I'm going to get done pretty hard by this particular stage because I just don't know that much. Now I think where we're gonna start is obviously if you remember what I did last time, the strategy that you want to follow for this is for your 3-0 team. You don't want it to be a team that you think is like a surefire lock, but you want it to be a team that like yeah, like if everything goes right, they could totally have a 3-0 run. Um, but you don't want it to be a team like, for example, G2, right? G2 is probably going to make it, and they could go 3-0, but especially if you look at their, let's see if we can find, if we go to HLTV, let's see if we can find their matches. It's not there. Let's see if we can go to events. Sorry, I didn't have this up beforehand. Um, this looks like it. Yep, okay. So if we go to the matches here, you can see G2 is playing Liquid in the first game. So it's not really a smart bet to say G2 is going to go 3-0 because they could definitely lose to Liquid. You just don't know. It's a best of one. So you just don't know what can happen. You don't really want to bet on that. So just looking at the list of these matchups here, what team do I think has like a really good chance of going 3-0? I was already thinking Outsiders, and they're playing MIBR first, and I think that's like a really good matchup for them. You could also say Fours would be a nice bet as well. Fours could definitely go on a run. I haven't watched Fours play very much, but Fours has always been one of those, uh, CIS teams that's just like, you just can't underestimate them. They've got let's see what their players are here. Jerry is a really he's been IGLing in the CIS scene for a while now on fours, doing great things, finding new talents in the scene. And so yeah, like you can look and just see like these guys are no joke. These guys can perform. They might actually not be a terrible pick to go 3-0 because they could either go 3-0, but you could also see them not making it at all, right? So it's kind of a toss up for me between them and Outsiders. I think Outsiders I may actually not pick because I think they're pretty much a lock to make it through the stage, whereas Fours, I'm not really sure that they'll make it through the stage, but I could definitely see a world where they just pop off and go 3-0. So maybe that is where we decide to lean. Like if you look at the other matches, um, like if we look at some of these other matches here, like, I don't really want to bet on Bad News Eagles versus Eternal Fire. This was a matchup that could have happened in the RMR, and quite frankly, I wouldn't really know who to predict here. I don't think it's a clear-cut favorite in that match. So, but with Forza and Renegades, I think it's pretty clear Forza is probably going to be Renegades. It's just Forza is just a better team, frankly. So, I expect them to win. I don't really see anything here that's anything special. I think Outsiders will definitely win this game, which is why you could consider them. But yeah, anyways, and then Ents and 9Z, Ents is going to win that game, no doubt about that. So moving on to, let's see what we got here. So my 3-0 pick is going to be fours. And for the remaining 7 teams, we're going to be picking teams that obviously we think are for sure locks that are going to make it through, right? So, or actually, do you want to start at the 0-3? Let's start at 0-3, actually. Let's go to the 0-3 matchup. So if we go to 0-3, let's see who is just in a game that is like a surefire to lose. 9Z is in a surefire game they're going to lose. I think, is there anything else that's like really egregious? Not really. I mean, I think this might be the ENTS 9Z game is probably the biggest disparity in skill between 2 teams in the first round. And I definitely don't expect 9Z to be able to deal with ENTS, um, especially how well ENTS has been playing recently. I just don't think there's even a chance for 9Z to win this. And frankly, there's a good chance that because of that, right, they could definitely go 0-3. So I'm going to put 9Z. Also, they barely qualified out of the Americas RMR. Not a very stacked RMR, a pretty easy RMR um, to get through, frankly, although EG didn't. um, but yeah, so I think 9Z is going to be my pick. And the reason why I'm not going to pick a team like IHC or like a Renegades, right, is because if I look here, right, yes, I do think Force is going to beat Renegades, but I think ENCE has a better chance of beating 9Z than Force does of beating Renegades. Like, same thing with Astralis and IHC. Like, I haven't really watched IHC, so I don't really know that much about them. I've watched 9Z play, I've watched ENCE play, and I know how good ENCE is compared to 9Z. So I feel a lot safer going with 9Z than I do for an IHC Astralis. Astralis is up and down, you never know. They've been looking better with Far Lake, but you can't really it's too early to tell, in my opinion, to see like where the consistency is going to be at. And then Forza and Renegades, um, I don't think Renegades is that good, but also who knows? Forza could have a shocker and they just don't play well. Could happen. So I'm going to go with 9Z. As for the teams that are going to be a lock here, I think it's pretty safe to say G2 is a lock. I think it's safe to say ENCE is a lock. I think it's fair to say that Liquid is probably a lock. I think after that, Outsiders is probably a lock. And this is where things get kind of spicy. Um, these next 3 slots are the hardest slots to pick. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and throw Astralis in here because I think their first round matchup is pretty clean, pretty easy for them. Should they play the way they have been playing, and I think they've been looking better, so I feel a little bit more comfortable picking them. But still, obviously, any of these last three picks are going to be a little bit of a gamble. I think I really want to put Vitality in there. I just let's look at Vitality's recent games because I'm just not sure how they've been playing. They've been very spotty, and I'm just not sure. So let's look at matches. So they beat Mao's 2-1. They got wrecked by Na'Vi. They beat Eternal Fire. They barely lost a phase. They beat Dignitas convincingly. So it looks like they're beating the teams that they should beat, and they're losing to the teams they should lose to recently. I'm just looking just really quick statistics, like nothing crazy. I'm not doing anything insane, obviously. Like I said, I just haven't really had a lot of time to be watching these teams play, unfortunately. So I didn't get to really see the EU RMR. But I think Vitality, you could argue that they've been beating the teams they should beat, and therefore there's a lot of teams here they probably should beat. I don't see Vitality losing to a IHC Renegades. You know, they beat Eternal Fire before, which would be one of the teams that I would expect to potentially beat them. I don't think Imperial's a good team. I think they got very lucky in the NA RMR, or I keep saying it the NA RMR. It's the Americas RMR. I think they got pretty lucky with their draws, so I don't really see them making a massive run here. I think their run ends here, to be honest with you. And I think the last team, if I had to look here and say which of these teams is tough, man. I'm between Eternal Fire and Complexity. I'm between Eternal Fire and Complexity. I don't think Bad News Eagles has been a great story. I just don't know that they have enough to get through the stage. They're all very young, inexperienced players. At least on Eternal Fire, they have some experience. Complexity's players don't really have as much experience. Some of them don't. But I don't know. You can make the argument that some other players have some experience of some kind. Um, you know, obviously not much major experience there, but there's definitely experience. You know, going to lands or going to tournaments, I should say. So it's tough to say between the two of them. Um, I think you could definitely put in an MIBR sleeper here, and that would be reasonable. I don't think Imperial is a good option. Ooh, voice crack. I don't think Imperial is a good option. I definitely don't think any of the Asian teams are going to make it through, or Renegades. Team Spirit could be a dark horse, but I don't really see it happening. They haven't really looked that good in a long time, really. And so I think it really comes down to complexity versus Eternal Fire, and it's really, really tough. I'm really not too sure. Um, Complexity's got a pretty tough first round. Eternal Fire's got a matchup that I'm sure they're okay with. Um, let's see. Can we look at Eternal Fire's record? We'll look at Eternal Fire's record, and we'll also look at complexity. Here's the thing. Obviously, as an NA person, I want complexity to go through, but I'm not convinced, guys. I'm not convinced. I'm really not convinced with complexity yet. They beat Godsent, but like Godsent didn't even make it here. They beat Carpe Diem, which wasn't a good team. They beat Sokatano, not a good team. They got wrecked by Furia. They got wrecked by Liquid. Like they beat the teams that are below them, but they can't even take a map off of Furia or Liquid. They got 2-0'd recently in Blast Showdown by MIBR. Like I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. I mean, if EG's taking a map off of you, there's a problem. And they were the only team that they took a map off of. So I really don't know about this complexity team. I think they're too young. I don't know that they have enough to get to the next round, to be honest with you. I think they definitely could, and they could prove me wrong. Like I said, it's a gamble. Um, but I look at Eternal Fire. Look who they beat. They beat OG. Yes, they beat Fnatic, who has been terrible. I get that. But I still think Fnatic, as bad as they are, is probably better than half of these teams that Complexity has beat by far. Um, they didn't really, they hadn't, nah, it was like a meh game against Vitality. They beat Dignitas in a close game. Dignitas is definitely no scrub. They're an okay team. They got wrecked by FaZe, and they did lose to Apex. But I think so. While maybe some of these results aren't the greatest, I think when you look at this one is an okay result, just about where you'd expect them to be. But this Fnatic one is still it's not an amazing performance by any means. I still think Fnatic is better than some of those other teams that Complexity has played against and beat. Like I think if Complexity played Fnatic, I think there's a good chance they lose that series. Um, and I think if you put Complexity up against OG, I think OG wins. To be honest with you, and I think both of these games went to 16-14, if I recall. Um, yeah, 16-14, 16-14. So they were close, but they still won. And you know what? That to me shows they can grind out games, and I'm not really sure that Complexity can do that. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but this X Cloud guy has looked pretty good. He's looked great. They have a lot of skill on this team, man. Woxic is a really talented player, especially on LAN in a big stage setting. It's where he performs, so I expect him to play well or better. X Cloud has looked pretty decent. Calyx has obviously got a lot of talent. We've known that for a long time. Xantares, I'm sorry, obviously super talented player. I think I'm going to give Eternal Fire the edge here into making it into the next stage over Complexity. So I think this is what we got. So yeah, if there's anything here that you're not really what time am I at right now? 13 minutes. I'm doing pretty good. So if there's anything here that you think is like kind of questionable or like you want to nitpick me a little bit more about like why didn't I put, MIBR here? Because I think MIBR has a fair shot at, breaking into one of these teams, and making causing an upset, obviously. If you want to know why I didn't put Team Spirit in there, right? Like these are reasonable questions. And I don't know. I think I'm pretty confident with this list. I think this is a pretty solid list. I can definitely see this happening. Um, But if there's, and I'm trying to think if there's anything, like I said, I didn't get to watch Bad News Eagles play. I have no idea how well their structure was. I don't know how good their players are. Like I've heard of Rigon, but that's pretty much it. So I really don't know much about them. And IHC, I saw the results, but I didn't really watch their games. So I don't know what their play style is like. I don't know if it's a play style that'll get abused, right? Playing against better teams. I imagine it probably will be because that's how most Asian teams work. Most Asian teams are really aggressive and it costs them because the better the team once you have players on the enemy team that are not only just as skilled as you are, or maybe even or most of the time more skilled than you are, but on top of that they have better structure and cohesion. They have protocols they can go through. You usually get shut down. So I don't think IHC is going to do anything. Although it's super cool that they're here. They got a sick logo and their jerseys are fire. So if you haven't seen their jerseys, you should look up IHC's jerseys. They're pretty good. Um, but yeah, I think overall, yes, obviously I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate because I say a lot of hate as if I have like a fan base. I don't. But obviously I know friends of mine are probably gonna be mad at me for not putting complexity in here. But frankly, I do think complexity can make it. I think they could probably take the spot of either Astralis, Vitality, or Eternal Fire, like one of these slots. But I don't see these four teams not making it through. I just don't see it happening. Um, in fact, I think I would do this. If I had to put them in order of like certainty on getting through, this is the order I would do it in. And then these, yeah, that's pretty accurate. I think that's like the in my brain, like that's the order of how I think what I think should happen, right? What should happen. Okay. Um, so yeah, I think this is it. I think this is my list. Let's make sure we activate this. Yeah, let's activate this and update our picks. So we have our picks in place now. We will see what happens. We have, I think, 5 days until the major starts. So I believe it starts next Monday. Let's check. I can't remember. I think it's next Monday. I am not on the right page, obviously. So it starts on May 9th. May 9th is next Monday. So we will find out on Monday if my fours pick is going well and my 9Z pick is going well, and if some of my other picks are in jeopardy or beginning to become in jeopardy, right? But yeah, I think overall, I think this is a pretty decent list. Let me know if you guys think any differently. I imagine the one thing people are going to be messing with is probably complexity or MIBR, maybe sliding in into one of these spots. I don't really think it's fair to. I don't know. I think actually, to be honest, I thought this was going to be pretty hard, but honestly, I feel pretty confident about this. Like, I don't really feel like I've put anything here that is like super out of place. And again, guys, the fours pick in 3-0 is because you don't want to put a team that you would like normally you'd be like, oh well, G2 is the best team here, so obviously they're going to be 3-0, and you wouldn't want to pick that because obviously there's a chance, right, that G2 drop a map and they go 3-1, right, or 3-2, and if they go 3-1 or 3-2, you've just lost a point, right? That was guaranteed, pretty much. I mean, I highly doubt G2 doesn't make it. But of course, it's G2, so you never know with Ocelot's luck. But I think it's pretty fair to say they're probably a lock, right? And you know, and so Fours is a team where I could see them going 3-0, or I could see them just flat out not doing anything. Um, you know, just kind of depends on how they're playing, how well Jerry has them prepared, and and hey, look, if they go 3-0, great. If they don't go 3-0, I only lose 1 point. Not a big deal, and I'll probably gain something else over here, right? So, and by putting fours here, right? If fours don't do well, like it doesn't matter because the team that fours is playing in the first round doesn't affect my pick'ems at all. Because I think the team they're playing is who was their team that they were playing? Was it like Bad News Eagles or something? No, I don't remember. Or Renegades. It was Renegades, I think. Like it doesn't affect my pick'ems really. So I don't know. I think this is pretty solid. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you agree, disagree, what changes you'd make, if if any at all. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick little video. Sorry I was talking pretty fast. It just, like I said, it's like 10 o'clock. I'm trying to grind through this because I just frankly don't have as much time as I'd like to have. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.